Hey friends, my name is Zara and this is the Daydreaming Rose podcast, in which I talk about folk herbalism, the tarot, trauma-informed magic, as well as the politics of healing and small business adventures. Sometimes it's just me sharing rituals and inspiration, and sometimes I have beautiful like-minded guests on the show. If you would like to learn more about my work, you can visit daydreamingrose.com for all things magic and sarahmagdalenalove.com for web design and tech support. Feel free to subscribe on iTunes, and if you like my podcast, know that a review would really be appreciated. This episode is really close to my heart because I had the honor of having Lindsay Mack, my tarot inspiration, on the show. Lindsay is really full of magic and she has such unique and beautiful insights onto the cards and how we can use them in creative and healing ways. We talked about self-care, having plant friends, connecting with our ancestry, becoming a reader, and healing from PTSD and trauma with the help of the cards. I'm really excited to share this conversation with you, and I would love to hear what you think. Before we get to the show, I want to share a couple of things that are new at daydreamingrose.com. So first of all, I really want to spend more energy and time on this podcast because it's such a lovely thing and such a beautiful way to be part of a community. I am a really keen podcast listener myself, and I just love how we can take these episodes into our most private spaces. So I often listen as the last thing before I fall asleep in the dark, and it's such a nice way to listen to other people's stories and, share inspiration and connect that way. And I especially appreciate that as an introvert, as you can imagine. So yeah, over the next couple of months, I'm going to share more episodes with you. I have interviewed amazing people these last 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I would love to hear if you have any wishes for this show as well. And then another announcement, I've made some updates to my website, and as a web designer, you can imagine that's an always ongoing process. I love that I can do all of this myself, but it also means it's kind of never ending. I like the version that I've come to now, and I would also love to hear what you think about that. And then finally, I'm doing tarot readings again, which I'm also really excited about. So I've taken a break in spring and summer because I ran the do-it-yourself summer school for almost 400 people, which was an incredible experience, but also just from the size of the group, really far outside my comfort zone, to say the least. And so it took up a lot of my headspace, and I really needed to focus on that. And now that that's over, I'm kind of coming back more to Daydreaming Rose and to this podcast and to my offerings here. And so I've come up with something new called the Becoming Magic readings, because I know from my own experience that readings are more powerful the more we engage with them. So I had definitely had periods in my life where I was more consuming information from the cards, like asking the same questions too often and not really working with the things that have come through for me. So I wanted to offer something that is more than just a write-up and a picture. Something that's more interactive and that you can work with in your own unique way, that really, rather than me just giving you something, inspires you to work with the tarot and other magical practices in your own way. So Becoming Magic readings are an audio files that you receive alongside an image of the spread that I created for you. There's going to be a grounding meditation to begin with just for you, and then we're going to kind of look at the different cards together and see what story shows up for you there and what that can mean for you and your understanding. And then there's going to be a journaling prompt for each of the cards that you can work with over time. I will also see if there's a plant friend that I can recommend to you that you might want to work with, and I'm going to make some suggestions for creative art practices or a ritual that you can do for yourself. I'm currently taking a certificate in trauma-informed creative expression. And that's really exciting. I want to weave that into the tarot readings that I do, because I really think that there's so much healing in us, in us trying new things and really committing to this path and making space and time for self-care in our everyday life. So I hope that's what these readings can do for you. They are $44, and you can find out more at daydreamingrose.com. And now finally for the show, enjoy. Hey everyone, I am so excited to have Lindsay Mack with us today. She's a really beautiful tarot reader and someone I initially met on Instagram. So as you know, I'm on there a lot and I really love the tarot. And interestingly, over time, especially kind of in the last 6 months, I noticed more and more people referencing back to her work. And then I started exploring her website, and then she came out with a podcast, which is absolutely beautiful. If you have not checked that out, you totally should. And I kind of feel like, I really got to know her work quite intensely on Instagram. I love her approach, especially to the swords, which I'm hoping to talk to her about in the interview. And she said yes to being interviewed quite spontaneously this week, which I'm really grateful about. And I'm now going to hand over to her so she can introduce herself in a more official way, because I could go on fangirling for ages, basically.
Aww. Well, first of all, I love you and your work, and it is such a gift to be here, and I'm very, very grateful that you asked me. I was very honored. I'm Lindsay Mack, and I'm the founder of Wild Soul Healing, and I am an intuitive who does really deep, I try to do very deep soul work with the tarot, through my guides, and through teaching the tarot in a really soul-centered way, which is to say, as a tool that I believe can really effectively slice through brain chemistry, trauma, identification, pain, ego, and help us not to transcend those pieces, but to actually develop an intimacy with them, to move through them, to kind of reparent them, process them, and deliver us to the other side. And it makes sense to me and helped me on my journey. And I guess I have like titles, but that really is at an essence what I do.
Yes, that is beautiful. I love the word reparenting so much. As a side note, I really lit up when you said that, because I think that is also how I relate to the tarot very often, and to plants as well, actually. Lindsay, I heard you talk about soul cards sometimes, which I think is such a beautiful concept. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about how you understand soul cards, and if you have one that you feel is your soul card at the moment?
Totally. So to me, a soul card is a little teacher. So there's two kinds of ways that someone can look at a soul card. I think that, and I love this, by the way, that there are some cards that people really feel like it's them. Like it's them. Like they are the Empress, or they are the Queen of Swords, and that's cool. I don't know if I have one. I guess with one of my podcast guests, we chatted about how we both really felt like High Priestess, but for me, I don't feel like the aspects of her that a person would extol and enjoy, I don't know that I identify with those as much as I do just, I'm an extraordinarily, and the older I get, I think it is extraordinarily internal person for someone who steps out a lot. And I'm really available to go really far inside. I don't know to a deep place, but I'm someone who really values the process of checking in with myself and going, okay, well, that's great. But what do I think? And I think that's ultimately, I don't know if that's ultimately what High Priestess is about, because she's everything to everyone, but to me, that inner wisdom. So that's an example of a soul card, but how I usually mean a soul card is just a card that's trying to get your attention and is helping you out. So that can show up in repeating cards, that can show up as a card we pull and we feel something around, just a real sense of understanding, and whether, a spiky card or a lovely card. So I guess right now for me, I'm getting some very, very regular visits from the death card right now. And I'm really enjoying, I wasn't enjoying it, but I'm really enjoying the process of learning that truly death is just another part of life, and that there's nothing to fear from it, and that it's not a problem. Especially not kind of soul death. And one of my really OG soul cards is the Star. I really feel like I'm not alone on that one. I go way back with her, and probably right now, probably I'm in a lot of majors, I guess. Probably the Fool. Like my whole life right now is the Fool. but I have many. Like Five of Swords to me is the soul card, because I don't know what it is, like my particular path, whatever, but I have a really, really big dharma around forgiveness of mistakes that I've made. Like just really learning how to recenter rather than flagellate myself. And Five of Swords actually, for just my path, my personal walk, has been very helpful in moments when my brain has really like invited me into some things that later I look back on and think like, I don't know where I was for that one, but it's really helped me to take personal responsibility and be kind to myself while recentering and correcting what needs to be corrected. So that's what soul cards are to me. What are yours?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I feel like sometimes I have cards for the year that I feel really strongly about, and they're usually for a birth year. So for me, that would be November to November. And then sometimes I have situations where I feel like there's a card that I would love to be, or that I would love to be embodying, and then there's a card that I feel that I actually am, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, what I really would love to be right now, because I'm kind of halfway through writing my first book, is the Queen of Wands. I would love that really fiery creative energy and the maturity around creativity and expression. What I actually think I should be working towards would be probably like more like Queen of Swords vibes, and really honing in on my boundaries and using that as a way to make space for my creativity. And yeah, these are the cards I'm feeling. I'm also getting death a lot at the moment, and I'm really into that. I'm a Scorpio. I've always been, you know, I've always been into that.
You're my favorite.
What's going on in your stat chart? Do you want to tell us?
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, so wait.
No, that was all. That was,
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I was done with my love for the death card. I just wanted, I'm going to share what I am. So I am a Scorpio sun and a Libra moon and Leo rising. What is your jam with the stars?
I am Aries sun, Virgo rising, Leo moon.
Interesting.
And I'm curious if you know this about yourself and if it has affected you. I'm an 8th house sun, which is the house of Scorpio, and an 11th house Leo. So Aquarius, and it's my houses with those have been such a balm for me in understanding myself better. And it's also why I'm married to a Scorpio. I get along the best. My closest relationships are usually with just so easy. You know, so easy. I think so anyway. I don't know. I love you guys.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's also so beautiful to hear right now, because I've always had a feeling of, you know, relating to Scorpios can be quite confrontational, and it's really not something if you're not up for doing the work and you're not into the intensity of that. But if you are, then it can be really great. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about kind of your story and how you became a tarot reader, and how you found your first deck, or how it found you?
Yeah, absolutely. So My journey in becoming a tarot reader, like I didn't really understand that that was even an option. I fell into doing it professionally, um, literally by accident.
Mm-hmm.
I had decks since I was 12 years old and was very interested and devoted and dedicated. I loved reading for my friends and did it all through middle school, high school, and college actually. And never thought it was just it meant a lot to me as a abused kid. It meant a lot because um, my hands were just up and out to God in any way that I could get it. And so when tarot kind of presented itself to me in a bookstore, I thought that it looked interesting, but really thought at 12 it contained some answers. And it's been very powerful to reflect on how it's been with me almost for half my life, and was so patient with me in figuring out that it wanted to work through me. It came after I went through a really powerful Saturn return, and essentially at around the age of 30, right after or right before I got married to my husband, all of these different things came to a head at around the same time. I just thought I was like dying, but all these different things came to head, and it was literally a situation like you either step up and out, you get help, you honor the fact that your PTSD is now at the point where it's non-functional, and absolutely let go of the people in your life who I still had contact with, like everyone in my life from my family who had been abusive. So long story short, at 30 my body presented its bill, and I either was going to this is sensitive for anyone who's sensitive about end of life discussions, but I was either going to end my life, which I really, really did not want to do, or I was going to step so profoundly out of my comfort zone and kind of finally be the mom to myself that I had not had and really deserved and needed. And so I wound up incredibly from that decision, setting off on a healing journey that was very nourishing and really powerful, and wound up setting me in this position where I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life anymore. And through that, sort of recreationally, like legitimately, it was meant to be recreation. I stopped into a lifestyle store, and one thing led to another, and the owner, it was in Brooklyn, asked me if I was interested in reading on the weekends, and I super nervous and had to refresh myself on everything, but came and left and said to my husband, like, I've never been happier.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And it was like going back to something old and familiar. It was just right. And truly, there has been a lot of work and there's been a lot of intentionality since that moment and that day, but it was like finding what I was meant to do, and it really flowed from there. Like, I've done enough work in terms of soul to end 10 lives and begin them again, but I can't tell you that I've done a whole bunch of business stuff to get here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really did. Like, I had to work, but there were different ways of getting here that surprised me. Like honoring self, and then the clients will come, and if they're not here, that's fine, because sometimes we're not supposed to have them, so that's how I got started. I loved it and had some really good feedback from the people that I was working with, and it all flowed. Like, I worked at a lifestyle store, and then made my way up to a healing center, and then made my way up to working in my home, and did a little bit of touring around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't do too much of that right now, but my work is continually shifting and changing. But yeah, I mean, I got a little off track there, but that's essentially like I met up with what had been, I think, waiting for me for like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's beautiful. Amazing. And I'm so glad that this shop came into your life and kind of gave you that spark that you needed. I mean, that was such a service to all of us. I personally benefit from this. So
well, you know what's so funny? Can I tell you?
Oh yeah.
And, I have no chill. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Same.
I'm not really I don't think socially weirded by certain. Well, anyway, I'll say this, and maybe it's not even worth mentioning. But the owner of that store, I have so much gratitude to her because she really did take a chance on me, and was very supportive and got me in with a whole bunch of events and like but our relationship actually ended on not a great note. Like there was some miscommunication. She offered me an opportunity and kind of, I think, regretted doing it and did not handle it the best. And because I was uncomfortable, I started to not, I would like cancel like same day, like days when I was, you know, meant to show up. So everything's fine now, totally fine. That was many years ago. But I went into her shop yesterday, actually with my producer who helped me film all of my stuff. And she has a new employee in there. And I enjoy going back to this woman's store. It's beautiful and supporting her. And the woman asked me, like, how do you know this woman? And I was like, oh, you know, I used to be a reader here. And she was like, oh, well, why not anymore? And I was just like, oh, you know, it was weird. And, you know, like, I just said it. And I'm not sure how the woman behind the desk felt, but I was like, I just like, I can't not love her. Like, she really is, I've told her that.
Yeah.
Like everything, you know, again, everything gets super water under the bridge, but it was a little funny for a little while there.
Yeah.
And I just, I like refused to let it be.
Yeah.
Like, you're welcome to be uncomfortable socially with me and not know quite what to say, or if I'm upset with you, I'm not. And also, like, you gave me this by saying yes, and that's, and also, she let me go at just the right time because it was not 2 days later that I got asked to be a reader at Maha Rose in Brooklyn. So it was perfect timing. So yeah, I agree. I love her. And I love that she got weird, and I love that she let me go in a really awkward way. And it was great. Like, just, I really believe in that. It's hard to be human. It's hard to know.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, how to say the right thing. And she did the best she could. And it was great. Yeah, it was really great. So.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love her too.
I love that. I love that story. You kind of touched on using the tarot as self-care a little bit in school, and by the way, I really love that you kept being really witchy and into the tarot as a teenager, because I and many other people I know kind of let go because we wanted to fit in. I bought my first book on witchcraft when I was 11, but when I was a teenager, I was just too awkward, you know. I was like, I just wanted to fit in. Anyway, that's a funny side note. So well done for doing that.
Thank you.
I wondered if you have any other modalities that you love for self-care, and particularly something I always love asking people is if you have a special plant friend.
Oh, I love you asking that. Well, my answer is nature. Like, that's really my answer. I'm a PTSD physical abuse survivor. I have some trouble with body work. You know, so we're still getting there, one step at a time. You know. So breath work, I can't always do. You know, I love all modalities, but in terms of self-care, there's nothing like the cradle of the mother to me. And that's kind of the backbone of, I'm sure that you feel the same way as a plant. I'm calling you a plant witch. Do you accept that term?
I totally do. Yes.
Okay. Wanted to make sure that felt okay. Yeah. I mean, it's such a beautiful, brilliant tarot reader and plant witch yourself. Like, I don't know any other that's what I return to, that above all things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I have a structure or an order. Like, a lot of the time I'm an intuitive, and I really am a channeler who reads tarot. That's the truth. And a lot of the time people will ask me, like, who are my guides? Who are they? What are they? And I've had to tell people, and I'm totally comfortable saying it, but I don't know. Because as far as I understand, they don't really have names. Some beings do. And if they have names, they're not telling me. Because everything I move with just feels so much more vast, and in a way I'm okay with the anonymity of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense.
Oh,
but
yeah, it does. Yeah.
Nature is my favorite form of self-care, like, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not I'm not particularly rugged or even all that athletic, but it's just I am put right when I remember nature, when I remember that that's my truth. The spiral way, as literally what saved my life from trauma, was remembering that there is no back and forth, there's no going forward and then falling backward, because that feels so much, as I know that you know, a part of healing trauma. Nature's given me everything. And I can point to many times through my 20s because my 20s were like your teenage years, when I just walked away from all of that, my mid-20s. And I almost died, like, getting back to it, because that's really at the root. I had lost touch. I can point to a particular trip to the ocean that, in a way that I don't even know that I could verbalize, like, brought me back again. So I think that's it. I have a plant friend. I feel like I do. I have to think about it.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, I want to. There's definitely one that I'm not going to remember right now, which immediately eucalyptus.
Ooh.
That's, immediately, and mint.
That is great. That's amazing.
And I have I'm not sure why, a really, really special affinity. I get very excited when I see purslane just growing. And I don't know what that means, but other than that, like, hawthorn, linden, like, really deep heart medicine for me. Really deep. I'm really drawn. I'm a big, like, I'm really drawn in by herbs. Herbs really help. They feel really nurturing and familiar to me, and but I don't know if I just have one. Yeah, I love the question.
Yeah. Oh God, herbs. They're just everything. And I feel like you just gave me the missing piece of my toolkit. I really need to work with eucalyptus too. I think what it does for me is it really brings me back into my body. It's kind of, when I smell eucalyptus and I've been dissociated, I really kind of come back home, because it's a bit like a, not like a punch, but like a bit of a snap in the face, kind of.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. Wow, you just nailed it. I didn't even know that it was doing that until you said it.
Yeah, and I remember the smell. I think there are some smells that just become muscle memory in our bodies, and eucalyptus is definitely one of them. Another plant that I really love for myself, and that I often hear other survivors really love, is fennel, because it's very protective, and it also really to me at least, it's very soothing, and it really helps my digestion. And I feel that I make a really strong fennel tincture and have it in a little dropper box with me when I'm like experiencing intense things, which as an introvert I feel I do all the time, basically. But then I just really like give myself so much fennel, because it helps move everything through my system in a way, in a really gentle way, not in a like just push the food through your body. But more like, man, there's a lot of experiences coming in, and fennel just holds space in this really gentle, protective way to keep things moving and to make sure that they don't get stuck. Yeah.
I love that. And upon you saying that, the plant that the plant that I was sort of trying to think of is rosemary. That was the one that I was like, I know there's one and I can't quite remember. It's rosemary. I love that plant so much, and it does for me what I feel like eucalyptus does. And there's something about it. I have this really strong memory. I've been on a little bit of a journey lately, actually, speaking of plants, in just taking responsibility in the smallest of ways for my inherent privilege as a white woman. And there's been this deep journey that I've been on this year to uncover the local plants from where I came from. And I don't know much because I come from Italy, I know I come from Ireland, and I've been trying to literally trace back great-great-grandparents, like the town, the area, and it's been the two big plants in my native areas of Italy are, olive, but also rosemary and sage. And my memory of them is cooking. Like, that's my big memory, is of my grandmother cooking with those ingredients. And it's been a deep homecoming to remember rosemary as the ally that, like, we always had a bush of it outside my grandmother's house. And I remember as a very young child, like, after we'd eat a meal, I remember my aunt teaching me, like, to run my fingers through it and, like, smell to kind of help to, they said, like, digest. Yeah. So I found, like, it's been so powerful to return to that and to remember that, eucalyptus I can't name. I'm not sure why, because it feels like a strong plant to me. But it's been such a beautiful experience to connect with those plants that literally come from my bloodline.
Yeah, I am having goosebumps because I have Italian ancestry too, and I have the same kind of relationship to rosemary. Funny, eh?
Love that.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It's a really special one for us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I have so many more beautiful questions for you. I don't even know where to start. So, coming back to healing trauma, I love how you speak about using the tarot to heal trauma, and I will intro that question kind of with a little bit about why I love that approach so much, because I think I have been someone who's had an incredibly hard time accessing talk therapy for various reasons. I always found it really hard. Oh my God, it has so many layers. I'm really jealous of my friends who have great therapists. I find it really hard myself to commit to one. I find it incredibly awkward to sit in front of someone and do the right face expression and make eye contact, and oh God,
I'm hearing you so hard right now.
Yeah. And then travel has been an issue because I'm often not in the same place in Europe. And so, I mean, I could go on and on why I find talk therapy difficult, but at the same time really want it on some level. but what I've really found is that in many ways, tarot has been a more accessible tool for me to organize my brain and to give myself space to explore what's really going on and to have these conversations with myself and to build my trust in my own mind and my experience. And I think as survivors, trusting our own minds and like believing ourselves when often the world is denying our stories is something that's so important. And yeah, so if you can say any more to how you feel the tarot can help in healing trauma, I would really love that.
Oh, I love that. So be my honor. For all of the incredibly beautiful reasons that you mentioned, I could not identify more fully and completely with them, by the way. There's a lot of evidence actually that talk therapy is not really the most helpful modality for trauma at all. It really needs to be processed. And the reason that I think tarot is such a beautiful tool for trauma, in part, I didn't know that it was until I didn't answer your question about how I got my deck, but I got my deck when I was 21. It was literally put into my hands by the psychic. She's a professional intuitive as well. The psychic mother of a college friend who just knew that they were supposed to go to me. That's my mother piece deck. And that was, well over 10 years ago. And it's the only deck that I had when I was out of the fire of my breakdown at around age 30. And it's not an accident that the mother piece, which is, I would argue, one of the most gentle, clear, deeply holographic spiralic decks, made its way to me. And it has everything to do with the way that I interpret because of the medicine of that deck. So, how I got my deck, it's all been very slow, but I realized it through my own work with it through PTSD, and it's the perfect tool. It's pocket-sized. It can literally come with you anywhere, and any moment where we are having an experience that is a little bit too big to process all at once, it can be everything, literally life-changing, to come into a place where we have something visual outside of ourselves, a little bit larger than us, an anchor, to be able to come into a space to say, where am I being invited to place my focus at this time? Where am I being invited? How can I be available to myself? What is the most nurturing thing that I can offer to myself in this moment? And maybe even, what do I most need to know from this? I have an incredible teacher who is a very powerful part of my healing journey, but in between those hour-long sessions every week, I had my deck. That was it. And I kept finding that above all things, above anything that I did, anything I attempted to get to know, any prayer, that set of archetypes was just so there for me in moments when I was so identified. And and I will say this, that healing trauma is a totally present moment process around something that happened years ago. So it's very confusing. And the tarot is ultimately, as you know, an exquisite tool for the true opportunities and invitations that present themselves to us in the present moment. Really, there is no future. And it's that natural inclination of the tarot to be a lift up and out of brain chemistry and a birth into the moment, that it's not about needing to weed through the thoughts. This powerful energy just comes right in and slices right through the brain chemistry. And for me, it showed up differently all the time. If there was something that I was very identified with, really in, it really helped me to go to my deck and to ask, how can I be available? How can I be available? How can I be present for this and this and this? And then there have been times where I have straight up dropped to my knees and burst into tears because I'm in something that feels extremely dark and really tough. And I will pull a card like the moon, or I do pull a card like the tower, and it's been a godsend to me, because I don't know if you feel this way, Sarah, but for me, like, if I'm in the moon, then at least I know.
Yeah.
At least there's no mystery. Like, I know I'm not going to know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Like, if I pull the devil, that's a relief. I'm like, all right, good. I know what this is.
Yeah.
I know what this is, and I can sip my tea through this.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
But to not know and to have the experience, especially when you're just in your journey of processing some old trauma, to not know or understand, what this is, it's the perfect tool. It's to me, it's just the absolute perfect tool, because I once taught a class on healing trauma with the tarot, and a woman, very rightly so, in fact, kind of said that she was very triggered by the fact that I was implying that it was like the tarot was telling you how you feel. And as a survivor of a cult situation, she felt really triggered by that. And it allowed me to kind of go on this exploration. And I was like, all right, is that true? Like, is it telling you how you feel? And for anyone that's sort of maybe having the same response, I was very, very grateful that she expressed it to me, because it truly isn't telling us how we feel. It's telling us, it's offering us an anchor that we can reach to, intentionally speaking, because the tarot is just, it's ether. Like, it's an invitation. It's not, as I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's not like, it's happening. It's present time. It's just energy. Like anything else. And I will say, this is sort of a for anyone who'd like to go more deeply into using the tarot as a healing tool in their trauma process, I would say start with a really a deck that really values the whole journey, not just right, wrong, good, bad, a more spiral journey rather than a dualistic kind of linear journey. And what helped me a lot was just learning all the theory that I could, and then going back to my guides and asking them, or tuning in around it and feeling where the edges were, because through my work with the tarot is how I have things to say about it that's a little different from other people. Because if you're willing, but anyone can do that, because if you're willing to travel with it through your own stuff, I really believe we all come out with teachings, so it's an amazing tool, one that can really and will really show up for you if you are intentionally desiring it to. And if you're working with the right deck for you, that's a big part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I so agree on the deck part, and actually about everything you said, but also on the deck. Yeah, that's very true. Interesting. I love your thoughts on that. That's really beautiful. I would also love to know, and I feel that ties in, though it might seem like a jump in theme, what your relationship to the word witch is.
Oh, a very happy one. I love that word. And you're pretty psychic, because you were not talking about this. I had gone off on a tangent about nature, and how, like, that to me is, I feel most in my essence as a witch, which is to say, I think just a woman who is awake with her eyes open, really in connection with what really the furthest abilities of her free will on the planet, and also in the deepest surrender of what is trying to come through her on her path. And because witches are, I would argue, ultimately doing their healing work with anyone that they come into contact with, I think witch is pretty synonymous with helping person in this world as a helping professional or a person, you can really only take people as far as you are personally willing to go, which is also why I believe witches are handed a little bit more and have been handed a little bit more than other maybe flows. But yeah, I have a beautiful relationship to that word and feel that that actually describes me more than maybe any other word.
Yeah.
To love and feel a connection to it that is as old as time when I am outside.
Yeah, high five on that.
Yeah, like it's all there, you know?
Yeah, it really, really is. That's so true. And I love that. I feel like we are part of such a beautiful community of people that are connecting or reconnecting to that word and watching each other and feeling inspired by each other and creating alternative economies in a way, and just just it feels like a really supportive, beautiful community, and I really love that. And it also, I mean, I'm always trying to make these elegant bridges between my questions. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not.
Doing amazingly. This feels like such a dreamy convo.
Aw, thank you.
It feels so good.
That's beautiful. So anyway, the beautiful bridge that I was trying to make was speaking about communities and Instagram and how we met. I really feel that you are someone who is incredibly generous with how you share your content and your insight, and it feels like your online marketing, and I almost have some hesitation sometimes using this word in these kinds of conversation, because I think it can be really heavy and like full of baggage, and I feel that and I feel that you are doing online marketing, if we needed to use that word, or sharing your offerings, really, in such a generous way, and in a way that feels abundant and not forced. And that is really rare. I am in the online business world, not just as a witch, but also as a web designer. And so I work with a lot of small businesses, which is work that I really deeply love. And I have, over the last 2 years, seen and experienced this shift towards, people really inquiring into how we can do this differently and how we can step away from the systems that we've been in as employees, which is so much more, colored by competition and scarcity and needing to force things. And it's really hard to be on that journey, because we're doing something new and there aren't that many role models. And I find myself sometimes feeling a little bit exhausted by this constant needing to take a lot of responsibility around that, which I'm really on one hand I'm so grateful that I have this freedom, and I even have the brain space, the head space to question this stuff. And I've worked on minimum wage for more than a decade, and in that time I never really had the capacity to really question these things so much. So I also understand this as a privilege in many ways, but it can also feel like a responsibility that is a lot of work. And anyway, so coming back to the bridge.
I loved all of that. That was beautiful.
Coming back to the bridge, I really love how you're promoting your course, and I would love you to speak on that. And I would love to know more general kind of what your journey with online marketing or sharing your offerings was and is, and how you feel about social media. Can you tell us more on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I love Instagram, and it's kind of everything that I've done has really been through that lens. Yeah, that's where I started, and I'm not on any other social media. I really love it, and where do I begin with that? Answering that was such a good question. I mean, to put it very simply, really simply, I stumbled onto what is the backbone, I think, of what you're mentioning with my Instagram. Stumbled onto it. I just really wanted to help and be of service, and when I had a day job that had a little bit of free time and moments in my day job, it was really at that time, three or so years ago now, almost 4, it was really like so obvious to me, why not pull a card and offer what I hear?
Yeah.
And that is the start of everything. That really is. It was that, like, one day I was like, I should just share with people what I'm hearing is going on. And if no one likes it, that's fine. If people like it, that's fine. And then it became something larger, and I decided to ask if people wanted to maybe learn from me, and I got a couple of bites, and it just grew very exponentially. The thing here's the thing with me, and it's got to feel really clean. It has to feel like I actually have something to say, otherwise I don't say anything. That's the first thing, is like, I am working with a producer to do my online marketing. She's a dream and amazing. She comes from the marketing world, and she's been extremely generous with me, because there are certain things I have to very gently and totally non-confrontationally just say, I'd love to do that a different way, because I think if I say that, my heart's not going to be in it, or if I offer that, it will exhaust me, and I don't want to give people something that, and there are times I don't write on my Instagram for 2 weeks. There are times I don't write for 3 days. There are times I don't write for longer or shorter, or I don't have anything to say. If I don't have anything to say, I don't say it. But the thing that it's the backbone has always been tithing, like giving away as much as I can.
Yeah.
And that's been scary, because in total honesty with you, there have been times, and it still happens, where I happen upon someone's Instagram, and it's like almost word for word, like something that I've said, and there's no credit. And that was really devastating to me earlier in my career. Now it's, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just not a big deal anymore, because everyone's learning. Some people really need to use certain things to help them find their way. And if they're really on the path, they'll play around with what other people have mentioned, and they'll find their own way. Always. So it's not a really big deal to me anymore. And also, like, the knowledge is universal anyway. So it's fine. But, like, it's like, where I was going with that is that it's been a difficult process in moments when I was so frightened as a younger entrepreneur about, like, getting left behind, someone like taking all my work. Like, I really had to work through that old paradigm. But that's how I really look at my Instagram now, the community that's come from that, the business and the connections and the friends and like everyone, and all of it has come from just giving what I've got away and not trying to parlay it into something that's paid.
Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful that people do that. And this now with my course is my first time trying out posts that end in, and if you want to learn more, click here. Like that's my first time, and that's a whole new world of being like, just different things coming up. Like, oh, am I going to bother people? Is that okay? And so far it's been fine. But the marketing for my course is all been presenting something that feels absolutely delicious and lovely to me. And that
to me too.
Thank you. And that I feel is actually giving something away, and like offering offering a gift. And I like to do that as often as possible. And it has been even more important to me because my one-on-one rates are extremely high. And in order to remain in my integrity, that's part of the birth of this podcast, is that I started to get so booked up, and the energetic exchange became such that the rates became what they became over the course of a few years. And I just thought, like, this is bullshit. It's fine to charge this, but there is an imbalance because I'm not able to be on Instagram the way I was. There has to be something, a consistent offering. Otherwise, I don't feel whole in this exchange anymore.
Yeah.
And then the course came, and that was the best thing ever, because I thought, great, like, let this be so affordable. So it's just like it all comes from a place of joy, and it also comes from a place of wanting to give away what I can and gift what I can and offer what I can. If people resonates with them, that's great. If not, that's great. And the other thing I would say that maybe I've never really reflected on before this moment, and I'm feeling a lot of feelings upon sharing this with you, but when I was in my 20s and was suffering deeply every day, all the time, was just in the throes of trauma and was trying to have a normal life. And I would say probably the thing that saved my life was Tara Brach's podcast.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of her talking about everything, from dissociation to trauma to mindfulness to, and I've worked with her a couple different times and did a week with her, was lucky enough to get to do a week with her, but I'd be dead without those, and they were free.
Yeah.
And that's where I came from, there was nothing else like that for me. I didn't really resonate with healers or coaches at that time, and I didn't really resonate with yoga, and I still don't. And I didn't really resonate with the teachings of certain teachers, but I really did with the intersection of mindfulness and psychotherapy and spirituality. And that's just that's a part of my root system. Is I know what it is to suffer, and I know what it is to have nothing, and I know what it is to not even know what it is that you're looking for. So why not just share everything that you can that could help?
Yeah.
And that's my marketing strategy, I guess, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it all came from, I totally get the idea, like, I totally get it. I feel you. I'm in this with you, and here's what helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can relate to that so much. I feel that my healing journey also began with free stuff. I was, there was a long period, like years in my life, where I was just listening to all the free podcasts, watching YouTube stuff, getting my hands on books in libraries, and then through that healing, creating a situation in my life where I was able to earn some money and resources to kind of invest in the next step and do some training, and it grew from there. And I feel that we are so lucky to be able to have this technology at this time and age to share in a way that is so much easier than it has ever been. I think that is such a gift. Yeah,
it is the greatest gift. And I'm also so touched that your journey was the same. It's been very powerful. I think it really it's interesting. Like, it's I really do think when you're not looking for something, what we put out, it just has a reach that's really just shocked me. My whole, since beginning this. And I agree with you on the lucky aspects. I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing without this. Like I don't know if I'm cut out for the way it used to be done, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah, the way that I'm marketing my course is just, it's the same thing. I'm trying to give away as much material as possible for two reasons. Both because it's nice to talk about things and to offer a different way of looking at it. The tarot is a universal tool. It does not belong to me. And because if people are drawn to the course, I'd like them to actually know how I speak, so that there are no unpleasant surprises and no regrets.
Yeah.
You know, so. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the course actually is? Because I know, and I feel like we talked about it so much, and everyone is like, "What is that mysterious course?" Yeah.
So I teach. So to like a little bit of backstory, I feel like people don't really need the backstory, but I'll offer a little bit.
Yeah.
I teach kind of something that I call soul tarot, which is essentially how to understand and intentionally utilize the tarot to befriend the wild soul path, to come back into the body, to, you know, everything that we've been talking about. It's essentially tarot for the central nervous system and for the deep reclamation and homecoming of self. And you know, it looks at tarot as being a tool for the present moment, and at like every card is for you, not to you. Every card is an invitation rather than a law. There's a lot to it, but it's a really it's just something that developed out of my usage of it. And I am doing for the first time an 8-week online course about that, and it's totally available for anyone to do anywhere in the world. I've worked with people all over the world, but one-on-one, never in a group setting, never online. It's 8 weeks in an immersion in the art of soul-centered tarot reading, and it's the whole deck and really deep immersion into intuition and pulling and practice. And there's a lot of really beautiful stuff with there's a really beautiful workbook and just a really lovely opportunity for people to work with the moon phases with their deck as well. And it's, my vision for it is a really cozy, potent, digestible way to really expand someone's personal practice. What it isn't is a certification program, because I don't believe in them. And that's ballsy, but I don't, just for myself. It's just a personal thing. I don't there's no way for me to, I've gotten like a lot of feedback on that. There's no way for me to actually know how anyone is reading or if they've even done the courses. So no, it is not a certificate program. People are able to, so it's not a certificate program. It's not for other people to teach necessarily if they want to, or if it's, you know, part of their flow, they can step into a place where maybe they're offering their own version of it. And it's not so regimented that you have to keep time with everything. And it's just really meant to be a deep journey to anyone who's looking for some structured, really soulful, really nourishing looks on how to expand their use of the tarot or learn about it, because it really is for beginners or people who have a lot of experience.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And and kind of almost coming to an end, which makes my heart bleed. I don't know if that's an English expression.
I don't want to.
I know, I don't want to either. But I also know people's attention span, including mine, is limited. And actually, I would love to have you on the podcast again one day. That would be beautiful.
Honored. Will you be on mine?
Yeah, of course.
Let's make it happen.
Yes, let's make it happen.
You've been on my short list for quite some time, you know.
Oh, amazing. Yes.
True.
Amazing, that's great. So with some bittersweetness coming to an end, can you tell us a little bit more about what you're offering apart from the course? I know that your soul tarot readings are really beautiful as well, and then also let us know where people can find you.
Absolutely. So I do a couple different things. Yeah, absolutely. Soul tarot readings, intuitive soul readings are my hour-long offering. I can do them for people in person in Brooklyn or anywhere in the world. I do Skype and phone all the time, and people can book those or learn more about those on my website, lindsaymack.com. At this moment, I am booked until December, but we're working. You can book for then, or you can go on a wait list if people would like to get in before. That's pretty typical though, right now. That shit always changes. But yeah, there's that. I also do really, really, really deep multi-week kind of intuitive coaching work, which is actually something I've been doing for about 8 years, but now blended with the tarot, and that's it's just called deep dive work, and that's something that again, people can look at on my website, see if it resonates for them, and we can talk about it. But yeah, that's the way to work with me. And how people can find me is either through my website, lindsaymack.com, again for the 900th time, and on my Instagram, which is Wild Soul Healing.
Yes.
And I have a podcast called Tarot for the Wild Soul, also the name of my course, which they can just find wherever podcasts are. And
perfect.
I guess I know that I'm coming to LA twice in November, so if there are any LA-based people, I'll be out there.
Okay, awesome. And we'll put all of that in the show notes as well, so if people get nervous about remembering, that's really cool, just check the show notes. It's going to be there as well. Lindsay, I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. It's been incredibly beautiful. I mean, I knew that this was going to be the shit, but I didn't know the shit was going to be this deep.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored.
Thank you so much. It's been a real joy, and I can't wait to speak to you again. Thank you so much.
I feel the same way.
Thank
you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.